from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is Ag Day.
Coming up on Ag Day, have trouble controlling those pesky flies on the farm? Why not call in the mobile coop control? The effort to get feed, especially in states hit hard by the extremely wet weather.
We do have some corn planted, but not enough for what we need.
But farmers seem to be feeling better about things.
The Ag Economy Barometer rebounded this month.
Ag Day, presented by the all-new Chevy Silverado, the strongest, most advanced Silverado ever.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Farmer sentiment is seeing a bit of an improvement. That's according to the latest Purdue University CME Group Ag Economy Barometer. The barometer now has a reading of 126. That's 25 points higher than last month, and the largest increase was in the Future Expectations Index. It rose 33 points. The rise in the index of future expectations also effectively wiping out the 2-month decline in future expectations that took place during April and May. Now, researchers saying the rise in crop prices, coupled with the announcement of a second round of tariff relief and Congress passing a disaster aid bill, helped spur that overall increase. The survey was taken before USDA confirmed cover crops would be eligible for tariff aid, but researchers found farmers were already considering preventative plant acres when the survey was done.
There's been a tremendous amount of interest in how many acres are going to be enrolled in prevented planting this year. On our most recent survey, we asked corn farmers if they expected to enroll some of their corn acreage in the prevented planting program, and 32% of the farmers in our survey said they intended to put some of their corn acreage in prevented planting. When we followed up with that group and asked how much of their corn acreage would they put in prevented planting, just over half of them said that they would put more than 15% of their intended 2019 corn acreage in the prevented planting program.
As for a trade deal with China, there was a bit more optimism, with 32% of producers saying they expect it to be settled by early September. The China-U.S. trade talks are already underway. That's according to President Trump. He made that statement during a press briefing at the White House. The president asked about Chinese negotiations, saying they've already started. He says negotiators are talking by phone and meeting in person. Meanwhile, China says it plans to reduce some tariffs and ease restrictions on foreign investments. The president saying he's hopeful a deal can be reached soon, but he isn't in a hurry.
We hope that we can make a deal, but it's got to be a fair deal. We had a deal as far as I was concerned. And then at the last moment, China decided they didn't like that deal, and they changed it. It's all right. Then I said, you're going to pay 25% tariffs on $250 billion.
And did President Xi said he would move on some of those issues that were...
Yeah, I expect him to move, and if he doesn't move, that's okay too. I'm very happy either way, but I think we have a good chance of making a deal. I think they want to make a deal because they're losing many companies that are leaving because of the tariffs, because they don't want to pay the tariffs.
The president saying he thinks the trade deal should be tilted in the U.S. favor following years of a trade imbalance. A brand new Farm Journal Pulse poll shows President Trump is continuing to do very well with farmers. The results show 79% of farmers surveyed now approve of the job Mr. Trump is doing. That's up 5% from the poll conducted last month. The survey had 1,100 respondents. And while a new round of tariffs is on hold against China, the U.S. is considering tariffs on an additional $4 billion worth of goods from the European Union. It's over what it considers to be illegal aircraft subsidies. Whether the tariffs happen depends on the results of a World Trade Organization assessment of EU subsidies on large civil aircraft. The U.S. Trade Representative's office disclosed it could target a further 89 subcategories following an earlier list from April. The new items include cheeses, olives, and coffee. Back at home, USDA officials saying this week they expect farmers to file more than $1 billion in insurance claims for acreage they couldn't plant this spring. USDA's Bill Northey also hinting at total prevented plant acreage. In a call, Northey saying prevented plant acres have reached as high as 10 million in the past, telling reporters that claims this year, quote, could easily exceed that high range. As of Monday, the Risk Management Agency had paid roughly $151 million in prevent plant claims due to excessive rain and flooding. Cost share assistance will be available for some farmers who need help planting a cover crop in those problem areas. The Natural Resource Conservation Service announcing farmers in 8 states are eligible for special signups to potentially receive assistance for cover crops under the Environmental Quality Incentives Program, or EQIP. One state is Ohio, where less than a third of the corn crop is rated good to excellent, and livestock producers worry there won't be enough quality feed and bedding. AgDay's Betsy Gibbon has that story.
Crops are poking out of the ground at the start of July in northwest Ohio. A corn crop plenty behind as livestock producers try to plan ahead.
Many acres in Ohio did not get planted, but for the acres that did, livestock producers are worried that there won't be a good enough yield for silage or bedding needs.
Hamler, Ohio livestock producer Nate Like is down to his last 2 corn stalk bales until he bales or ships in more. He says USDA's announcement to move up the date farmers can start haying and grazing cover crops for feed and bedding is saving him.
I mentioned to the wife the other day with our cows, I said, if they don't move this date and we can't get any forages harvested, I said, we're going to have to sell out.
Like sells seed and says many producers are planting a cover crop on prevent plant acres to try to gain some forage. And the shipments keep coming.
9 more pallets of this coming in today of the sorghum Sudan grass.
We do have some corn planted, but not enough for what we need.
Other producers like Andy Stickle and Pemberville have plans to plant other crops to help his livestock too.
We've got some cover crop seed ordered now, and then we'll plant the appropriate acres that we think we can either take off as haylage or dry bale this fall.
Stickle operates a straw and haying business. He says hay prices are increasing.
People have sold hay for prices that they have never sold hay for. As a guesstimate, 80% of the hay, if not more, was lost. It will be in reduced production. Most folks are talking 1 cutting, and that's probably about all they'll get.
In Michigan, USDA says hay stocks as of May 1st were down 31% compared to a year ago and are the lowest since the drought of 2012. It's the second lowest amount on a per ton basis since records began in 1950.
It really is getting to be somewhat of a frightening situation for a lot of folks, just simply because what are we going to feed? We have all of these mouths. You know, you can slow down on ethanol, you can slow down on exports. You can't tell a hog to be patient.
Part of the problem is much of the alfalfa crop did not survive the polar vortex over the winter, especially in Wisconsin.
Our alfalfa crop had a lot of winter kill.
Sure.
And we don't have the crop like we normally would. With all the rain out there, the farmers are really having a hard time even getting first crop hay off.
We're going to run the wheels off the baler and bale everything we can because we got to make sure we got enough.
He's baling 1/4 to 1/2 ton to the acre of alfalfa hay. He bales 3 to 4 tons to the acre in a typical year. A plan to keep moving despite a lagging couple of months as they anticipate trailing crop yields in the fall. Reporting for AgDay, I'm Betsy Gibbon.
All right, thanks, Betsy. USDA also announcing corn silage will be eligible to plant on prevent plant acres to help producers who won't have supplies for their herds. Sunshine and warmer temperatures really helping the corn right now, as meteorologist Mike Hoffman shows us in today's crop comments. Mike.
Thanks, Clinton. This is a welcome sight after all the rain we've seen. This picture is from Vermilion County, Indiana. Can you believe that? That's near the Illinois state line. Wes Mills reporting the field had stalks standing 7 feet plus. It comes complete with tassels and silks. Looks like it's really coming along, at least in that part of the Midwest. Now, taking a look at the wind speed forecast. It's not going to be overly windy except for in some thunderstorms, and there'll just be spots around the country. As you can see as we head through the afternoon hours, overnight there may be some heavier thunderstorms. Gustier thunderstorms in the northern plains. Those are already tapering off by morning. And then as we head through the rest of the 4th of July, you can just see some breezy areas here and there. Windiest spot might be South Texas by the end of the day. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
When we come back, analyzing USDA's acreage numbers and the likelihood of crops hitting the mark this season. And later, a big holiday cookout may be in store for this July 4th. What's it going to cost you? We'll tell you how it stacks up against last year ahead on the show.
Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.
A mixed market on Tuesday with soybeans under pressure due to uncertainty about final acres planted. We get an update from the CME.
For the most part, we've got corn trying to go higher after being sharply lower in the last two trade sessions, really reeling from that USDA report that we saw last Friday, showing us 91.7 million acres of planted acreage for corn, which was much higher than what the trade was expecting. And also put that together with some better weather, warmer weather, to help push this crop along a little bit further. I do think that we have lost a fairly significant amount of production, and now the trade is trying to wrap its head around what that could possibly be and if we need to start price rationing corn. So as far as soybeans are concerned, down a little bit here today. Again, weather is the big player there. With warmer weather, it looks like we can get some very last-minute soybean planting done at this point. But then also, it looks like we're going to push this crop along a little bit further. This is Ted Seifert of Zaner Ag Hedge coming to you from the CME floor.
The market is still trying to wrap their heads around USDA's June acres number. Tyne Morgan has more in today's analysis from our studios in Kansas City.
Here now with Matt Bennett of AgMarket.net. Matt, recently USDA came out with its June acreage forecast. Not a very friendly number when it comes to corn acres, 91.7. That is up 3% from last year and just down slightly from their March planting intentions number that they had printed. So when you look at this corn acreage number, though, what matters more this year, do you think? Acres or yield?
That's a great question. First of all, I would say that acreage would matter the most for me, in my opinion. And I think the reason why it does is because I see such a chance for the yield to really get hurt here. Acreage, yes, we still don't know what acreage is going to be. We're not going to know for quite some time. Essentially, the intentions on June 1st, considering we all know a lot of producers still didn't have their corn planted, were to plant less corn than what we intended at the end of March, if I read this report correctly. And so moving forward, how much of that did we get planted? We know a fair amount of it didn't. I think that that's a big issue. The bigger issue for me, though, is yield. And I think that we have a lot of question marks there.
Yeah, and so when you look at yield, I mean, do you think we get USDA prints a bigger number than they printed in this last report? Or at this point, since we do have damage to the corn crop, the yield is kind of as big as it gets at this point?
I think that to get to 166, considering the fact that if we did get 91.7 or anything close to that planted, and I don't think we did, it's because we had a lot of late plantings to try to get farm for insurance, if you will. And I'm not trying to pick on anybody for that. The numbers were saying try to get the corn planted if at all possible, because your insurance guarantee was going to treat you better financially than take and prevent plant in 90% of the scenarios that I saw. And so, yeah, people needed to try to get the corn planted. What's it going to mean for yield down the road, though? Because the sins that we committed this spring, that we had to commit, that we were forced into, those are going to come back and bite us later on.
All right, Matt Bennett, AgMarket.net. Thanks so much. Stay with us. We'll be back with more Ag Day in just a moment.
To contact Matt Bennett at Ag Market, call 844-4AG-MARKET or visit their website at www.agmarket.net. The IBM Watson Decision Platform for Agriculture, helping to feed a hungry world with the power of AI.
Welcome back to Ag Day. Your meteorologist Mike Hoffman looking at the root zone moisture map, and I can't help but be struck by how much blue we see in California.
That's true. I mean, it is amazing when you look coast to coast. There's just not a lot of reds and oranges around. Of course, the oranges and reds stand for very dry and extremely dry, and that's mainly along the southeast coast. At least those are the worst areas. Possibly you'll end up with a tropical system or a tropical storm or hurricane this season. Never know ahead of time, but that's the possibilities down there. Desert Southwest, parts of Arizona, New Mexico, even drier than they typically are. And then there's dry areas in the Pacific Northwest, as you can see, and a few spots through the Midwest. My yard here in northern Indiana is already getting kind of dry, although we do have kind of sandy soil where we live. There's the map as we look at things. There's some cooler air in Canada, not substantially so, but basically this is all heat and humidity. And there'll be afternoon showers and thunderstorms bubbling up in many areas, and there'll be some nighttime thunderstorms sometimes closer to these fronts, either the stationary front or the cold front. And you can see as we head into the 4th of July, there's 7 a.m. for tomorrow. Some showers and thunderstorms here and there across the upper Midwest, and then they bubble up again basically from that front over the southern Great Lakes all the way southward into the Gulf of Mexico area. Most of the Southwest really staying dry, at least in this pattern overall. There's a precipitation estimate over the past 24 hours. You can see some spots have had thunderstorms, and you add in the next 36, and it really just depends on where things happen to develop. We're not talking widespread heavy rains, although our model is suggesting a decent amount there, southern North Dakota and northern South Dakota. But we'll see if that works out. That's just something the computer models are showing. And then you can see a few spots in the mid-Atlantic area as well. Temperatures this afternoon, 80s and 90s. Widespread across most of the Midwest from the Great Lakes southward, a little bit cooler in the Pacific Northwest. Low temperatures tonight going to stay muggy south of that front, as you can see, except the far northern states, and it's really more of the same as we head through the day tomorrow. There's the jet stream. As we head through things, you can see kind of a ridge over the eastern two-thirds of the country. A little bit of a trough dips into the eastern Great Lakes and New England as we head through the end of the weekend. Another trough may start to actually show up over the northern plains as we head through the middle of next week, and that could begin to usher in some truly cooler air, but we'll have to wait and see on that. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. Battle Mountain, Nevada, first of all, mostly sunny, pleasantly warm, high of 84. Bemidji, Minnesota, partly sunny and afternoon thunderstorm around, high 78. And finally, Mansfield, Ohio, warm and humid, a thunderstorm possible, high 87.
If you're putting together a big July 4th feast, we'll tell you how much that meal may cost this year. And later, steak and eggs, how this Idaho family is growing two types of ag products in the same fields. A recall to tell you about regarding several brands of prepackaged vegetables. Some Green Giant, Trader Joe's, and Signature Farms packaged vegetables have been voluntarily recalled due to possible contamination with bacteria. That's according to the Food and Drug Administration. Affected products include butternut squash, cauliflower, zucchini, and vegetable bowls. They are all manufactured by Growers Express. They were distributed primarily to grocery stores in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and Maine. Planning a 4th of July cookout, the American Farm Bureau Federation has released the estimated cookout cost for this year. The total cost coming in at $52.80. That's factoring in a menu for 10 people, which includes 8 hot dogs and buns, 8 hamburgers and buns. Don't forget the cheese slices, along with ketchup and mustard. There's also 4 pounds of pork spare ribs and the sides, such as potato salad, baked beans, corn, chips, and lemonade to wash it all down. Plus, what would be the 4th of July without watermelon? It estimates that costs this year are up less than 1% compared to last year. You don't always think of chicken and cattle as pasture mates. Well, up next, we'll see how an Idaho family is raising both to the benefit of the other. There are all kinds of ways to create symbiotic relationships on the farm. In Idaho, one family is using chickens behind cattle to help keep flies in check while collecting thousands of eggs. Steve Ritter with Idaho Farm Bureau shares a story of the McIntyre family farm.
At McIntyre Family Farm, free-range chickens are plentiful. Beautiful Isa Brown laying hens that are always happy to greet a human.
We started using chickens behind our cattle for fly control and just to kind of see how laying hens would do in mobile coops. We started out with a little, almost like a trailer house with 300 birds. That was 3 or 4 years ago, and we would sell out every summer. So we decided to take a leap and got 1,000 more. This spring, we added another flock, so we're up over 3,000 birds that are laying hens.
That lay?
I mean, we still get up to like 2,600 a day, per day. It's pretty crazy.
And that equals just over 18,000 a week, which adds up to 946,400 eggs annually. Marketing manager Maria McIntyre says this year they have even more on the menu.
And then we have groups of meat chickens going through all the time. That's what these are. And then today we're actually starting another group of turkeys. So 200 turkeys will start as well, all on pasture.
The birds are just one leg of the operation. The McIntyres also offer beef and pork products fresh from the farm, all sold from the farm to local merchants and families.
Yeah, and that's our goal. Like, our goal is to get into your home, is so that you can have a pastured egg. But we move them every day onto new grass, all behind our cattle, and so, yeah, our goal is to get right into people's houses.
To learn more about the McIntyre Family Farm, visit McIntyreFamilyFarms.com. For the Voice of Idaho Agriculture, I'm Steve Ritter.
And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. It's been part of your day with us. From all of us here at Ag Day, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day out in farm country.